steal our hope, to blind our eyes. He whispers fear, he wields the sword, but he cannot silence the living word. Every drop of blood becomes a seed, every broken heart cries out a creed. The gates of hell will not prevail, God's truth will stand, it will never fail. From martyrs to saints, their crowns are won, their witness shines like the rising sun. The enemy strikes, but heaven proclaims, the faithful are lifted, God knows their names. The apostles stood, though chains were near. They sang in prison, they cast out fear. And in our day, new voices rise. Charlie's faith still testifies. Every silenced word becomes a song, every trial proves where we belong. The Church of Christ cannot be destroyed, for death is swallowed up in joy. From martyrs to saints, their crowns are won, their witness shines like the rising sun. The enemy strikes, but heaven proclaims, the faithful are lifted, God knows their names. Will we bow to fear or stand unashamed? Will we hide the cross or bear his name? This is the hour, the choice we make.
Finding the right words to use for this song. I have you in mind, so it won't take so long. Love is that I find you, but you're here, and so I love you.
Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband. They have continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest. We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher, that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets. And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me, and I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up, and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech. And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you." To which she replied, literally, she said, "I know. Isn't it special, right? Isn't tonight so special?" And following that conversation, it was time to take our seats, and we went into the big ballroom where the dinner was. And one of the first things I noticed when I walked into that room was quite literally the proximity of the opposing outlets to one another. So you have one table here that's Politico, and another table here that's Fox, and another table here that's WAPO, and you're all crammed together, elbow to elbow. And to make the night even more of a spectacle, every single 10-person table had 10 bottles of wine. And the president of the White House Correspondents Association, she did a great job of trying to make the evening have that feeling of Americana. You know, we were in a room celebrating freedom of speech despite our differences. And the U.S. Marine Band performed the national anthem so beautifully. And then shortly thereafter, gunshots rang out and total chaos ensued. And you guys have all seen what happened next because there are 1,000 videos of it. So let's discuss that fact for a second. If you were in that room, you had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really anything. It was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips. They were so concerned about getting a video in a room with an active shooter that they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the #1 rule of journalism. And again, ironically enough, the shooter was a teacher. You have these people who are supposed to be teaching our children the future of this country, and he's so unhinged that he is able to teach children by day and then attempt to murder the President of the United States by night. And in his manifesto, he starts by contextualizing himself by saying, "I am a citizen of the United States of America." And while we may have big problems with illegal immigration in this country, I have to tell you, we have an even bigger problem when it comes to the systemic indoctrination and radicalization of our own citizens. This is what got my husband killed. This is what has led to 3 legitimate attempts on President Trump's life. And I can speak firsthand to that unbearable toll that this must take on our First Lady. There has never been a president who has faced this many assassination attempts in Americans' entire history. And after each one, the reaction from the far left has been, at best, a shrug, and in some cases, a sick disappointment that the shooter was unsuccessful. We are all human beings. And if you can just pause and just take a minute and ask yourself, how would you feel if even just one person made cruel jokes about the attempted murder of your loved one? That is what Jimmy Kimmel did to the First Lady. He said that she had the glow of an expected widow. The glow of an expected widow. Just 48 hours before that nightmare almost became a reality. And this culture we're living in absorbs disagreement as a form of personal betrayal. It turns having an opposing viewpoint into a moral crime worthy of punishment. And here's what I've realized through all of this, truly, having lived through quite literal hell these past 7 months, if you strip someone of their humanity long enough, you will arrive at the chilling conclusion that they don't deserve to exist at all. Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on. There is a serious epidemic of dehumanization plaguing this country. The most unthinkable tragedies have now become commonplace in our daily headlines, and yet the media finds a way to conveniently explain away violence. This is what we're up against. This is what we're up against. What is happening right now is something none of us can afford to ignore. The evil forces working to divide us, to distract us, and to pull us apart has never been stronger. This is a moment for Americans to come together and decide what kind of country we are going to be before we lose our country altogether. In Romans chapter 12, verse 21, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And this is why my husband created Turning Point USA, so we could have civil discourse and debate and open dialogue, because when we stop talking to each other, bad things happen. I am choosing to fight for America, for my children, for your children, and for our humanity, because we all need to do our part. And by the grace of God, we will succeed, and America will remain what she was always called to be, a shining city on a hill, a light to the world. So let me give you a perfect example of how it's done. My husband did it best and left us the blueprint on how to have uncomfortable conversations with those who disagree. Buckle up, everybody. Here we go. This culture we're living in absorbs disagreement as a form of personal betrayal. It turns having an opposing viewpoint into a moral crime worthy of punishment. And here's what I've realized through all of this, truly, having lived through quite literal hell these past 7 months, if you strip someone of their humanity long enough, you will arrive at the chilling conclusion that they don't deserve to exist at all. Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on. There is a serious epidemic of dehumanization plaguing this country.
Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're going to do? We're going to jump over here and check out what Martin the Decoder had to say about the hate that Tyler Robinson had toward Charlie Kirk that is greater than what we even imagined. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's go. Let's go.
Is Tyler Robinson, and why did he do what he did? A family member said that Robinson had described conservative activist Charlie Kirk as full of hate and spreading hate. Robinson was also reportedly in a relationship with his roommate, who was in the process of transitioning. It's important to recognize how oversimplifications and emotional appeals shape the world we live in, especially the messages young people absorb, from the classroom to social media and mainstream news. The word hate is a floating signifier, a term with no fixed or universally agreed upon definition. Words like this are easily monopolized by politicians, celebrities, and media figures who use them to advance their agendas.
Can we also add phobia, all phobic, to that as well?
Without ever clearly defining them. What feels inclusive to some may feel exclusive to others. What one person sees as hateful, another may view as morally right or even loving. That ambiguity is the point. It allows language to be stretched, manipulated, and emotionally charged, often without accountability. Floating signifiers like freedom, justice, progress, equality, patriotism, and even adjectives like divisive don't have consistent meanings. They're open to interpretation, yet they're used to draw ideological lines. Politicians, commentators, and activists attempt to monopolize these words, framing themselves as the heroes of a moral struggle.
I like this, and I want to just point out, this is one of the reasons why you should ask for terms to be clearly agreed upon when you're having a conversation. Like, what do you mean by hate? What do you mean by XYZ ABC? I think that's a great point. Let's go.
Anyone who disagrees as the enemy. when one side believes it's in the right, simply because it's monopolized a set of nice-sounding floating signifiers. Its followers can easily slip into thinking they're objectively right, and that anyone who disagrees is objectively wrong. Take a moment to consider this contradiction. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate, while he himself went on to commit the most hateful act imaginable. That's the power of floating signifiers. They don't just label, they elevate one group as morally superior and cast the other as inherently dangerous. Take Matthew Dowd, a political consultant, who had this to say about Charlie Kirk after the incident.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matthew Dowd is a political analyst. When he repeatedly uses floating signifiers like hate and divisive, and subjective terms like awful, it's not accidental. He knows exactly what he's doing. Everything from his repetition to his emphasis on words like constantly reveals how calculated his framing is. It's not just rhetoric, it's tactic, so deliberate in fact that it reveals a specific rhetorical device. Diacope, the repetition of a word or phrase, often used for emotional emphasis.
Hateful thoughts, hateful words, hateful actions. Awful thoughts, awful words, awful actions.
Dowd's use of floating signifiers and emotional cues isn't designed to inform. It's designed to persuade by bypassing logic. These are appeals to pathos, not logos. He never defines what hate speech actually means. He never explains what makes something awful, because those terms are subjective by design. They allow him to frame the narrative without having to defend the substance. That's the disingenuous move. Label someone with a term like hate, and suddenly you've won the argument without.
I also want to point out that when I hear the word hate and when you hear the word hate, those could be two different things. I mean, two different understandings based upon where you're from, where you're hearing this, how old you are, how young you are, there's so many different factors that will play into the word hate. I think he is right on the money by saying that, hey, by putting this out, what do you call it, floating signifier, putting that out there, is also going to be translated differently by each person if there's not a clear definition.
Never having to make one. And here's the contradiction. He accuses others of being divisive, while using some of the most divisive rhetoric possible. But that's the point. The rhetoric of politicians and political commentators like Dowd often depends on division. Without an enemy, they can't cast themselves as the voice of unity or salvation. They need us versus them discourses to appear like uniters or saviors. That's the core contradiction, one that deceptive people not only ignore, but rely on, even cherish. Journalists don't bother with definitions of hate speech either, even though they claim to enlighten and clarify. Take James Clayton, a BBC journalist, for instance.
Particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally.
To describe a hateful thing.
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So those kinds of things. He hasn't even defined anything. Instead, he uses two other floating signifiers to prove the floating signifier hate.
Slightly racist or slightly sexist.
But that's not how you prove anything. So content that'll solicit a reaction is hateful. Let me guess, that vague, logically inconsistent definition only applies to content he dislikes. Clayton doesn't seem confident in his own reasoning, probably because there isn't much of it. He tries to project ease as if he's stating the obvious.
Yeah,
but everything from his gaze to his restarts to his hollow definitions suggests otherwise.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
The adverb, honestly, is the first warning sign that Clayton knows he's not being honest. Why invoke honesty in a context where honesty is assumed? And no, he's not being honest because he just finished using the For You feed as grounds to his claim that he's starting to see more hateful content.
My For You.
But now he claims he doesn't use the feed.
I don't actually use that For You.
To escape this contradiction, he casually inserts the adverb just, a classic move to oversimplify and downplay.
I just don't particularly like it.
But no rhetorical softener can change the fact that he fails to substantiate his claim. I'll let Musk finish my argument.
No,
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I bring up this example because journalists like Clayton have enormous influence over what people believe about the world, about certain groups, about political issues. It's rare to see one of them challenged the way Musk challenges him here. Had this been an article or a polished news segment, Clayton's oversimplified and unexamined talking points would have gone entirely unchallenged, which means audiences, especially younger, more impressionable ones, would absorb floating signifiers like hate speech or
slightly sexist
without ever examining the specific context in which they're being used. When challenged, many influential figures resort to the same tactic Clayton tries, deflection. They frame their opponent as nitpicking or harping on irrelevant details for self-serving reasons, anything to shut down the conversation as quickly as possible. But notice how eager they are to deliver their deliberately vague generalizations in speeches and monologues where no one can push back. That alone speaks volumes about a worldview that can't withstand scrutiny.
Whatever your gender, your preferred pronouns blossom to be, we all know it ain't so black and white.
We want to end gender inequality. I was confused being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays that we would put on for our parents, but the boys were not. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum.
Everybody who has been brave enough to be honest about how they feel, to live their lives as they are, as they feel they should be, as they identify.
You've done so much to advance the cause of equality and freedom, equal justice under law. It is not to be debated.
Equality and justice for all, period.
LGBT rights are under attack by a Justice Department that now stands on the side of discrimination instead of equality.
Instead of caring about specifics, people have grown accustomed to oversimplifying floating signifiers. And instead of engaging with their opponent's arguments, they've learned to label them. And labeling opens the door to dehumanization, as if the person being labeled is somehow undeserving of the same loving, open-minded, and inclusive treatment reserved for so-called allies. Of course, terms like loving, inclusive, and open-minded mean the opposite. They're used to justify excluding those who disagree. And allies, that word frames every disagreement as part of an us and them struggle. Floating signifiers and emotionally calculated slogans thrive where arguments and logic are absent. We see it everywhere, in schools, in the media, in politics, and throughout celebrity and influencer culture. Let's look at a few more examples of floating signifiers and calculated emotional appeals, particularly in politics and celebrity culture, where they've become a substitute for actual arguments.
Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're going to be talking about. I really do believe, I don't think it's a lap too far to say that Candace Owens has been given over to a reprobate mind. Like her mind doesn't operate correctly. It's been given over to the full-blown, unadulterated viciousness and vileness of her sinful nature. I'm going to play 2 videos to make my case. So let's real quick check out this young lady real quick. Let's go.
Candace Owens not good at poker. She's showing her hand. Take a look, then I'll respond.
Us criticizing a grieving widow who can't keep her story straight about anything? No. That shouldn't even hit your radar. So please do not lecture us, JD. Do not, okay? The lecture that is coming from you is exactly why we don't like Erica, because we see it for exactly what it is. It's elite. She has money and connections. She can call Vice President J.D. Vance. She can get the Secretary Scott Bessent to issue a letter on demand, demanding you stop looking into their finances. She can get Trump to say how much Charlie loved her in his Easter speech. It's the balcony approach that makes us sick. We feel it. You guys looking down in the crowd like we're animals.
Candace Owens is led by an evil spirit, a seducing spirit. This hatred that she has for Erica Kirk has completely consumed her. This is not about finding justice for Charlie Kirk. This is about destroying Erica Kirk because she wants to be Erica Kirk. She's jealous of her. It's sick and it's demonic. And notice how she keeps using the pronouns we and us. Why do you think she's doing that? Because she's performing psychological warfare on the minions that tune in to the next episode. So she uses pronouns such as we and us. That's why we don't like Erica. That's why they look down upon us. Making everyone that watch her believe that somehow Erica Kirk is their enemy too. Erica Kirk not even bothered by her. She's going about her business. She's on that wall building, and Candace Owens can't stand it. She's throwing all her fiery darts. She's doing everything she can to bring Erica down. But it's not working. It's not working. I'm not saying God told me Candace is reprobate, but all the signs are there. If she not reprobate, I pray she repent, because this spirit ain't playing. When I was thinking on Candace Owens and the direction that she is going, there was an image that popped in my head from the game show The Price is Right, and I'm about to show it to you right now.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
The Bible says, not me, there is a way that seems right unto man, but at the end of it, it leads to destruction. This spirit is destroying her. It's consuming her. And the people that are tuning in, listening, and commenting in the comment section, they're feeding this demon. If you don't see the dangers of all this, I feel sorry for you. You're not discerning. A true believer in Christ should not be supporting this lady. A true believer should be praying that she repent before she get to the edge of that cliff. God bless.
25.
Wow. Shout out for sure. Now, let me give you an example of a pure, there's many examples, but this one right here was really interesting to me because she literally makes up a story that makes no sense at all, just out of whole cloth. And, in times past, she's, said, I have no verification of this. It's just a theory. Like, she's saying it. Just listen to the tone that she says this. Let's go.
Getting the sense that they had multiple Tyler Robinson lookalikes that day. That's why the footage is grainy. And it's just impossible that all this footage is going to be grainy, okay? I think there were multiple Tyler Robinson lookalikes, and they were wearing maroon shirts and wearing hats and wearing what they were supposed to wear, and they're never going to show us a clear picture of Tyler Robinson because it's very easy to find a Tyler Robinson lookalike and to blur it. That is my conspiracy theory.
Does that even make sense to you? Does that sound like somebody who's rational? That they had Tyler Robinson lookalikes on campus that day. Now, mind you, in times past, she said Tyler Robinson was never at UVU at all. But now all of a sudden, not only was he there, they had lookalikes there, his body doubles there. Does that make sense? Does that sound like somebody who's dealing with their right emotions and their mental state is in the right place? Or does that sound like somebody like, hold on. Like, imagine if your ideological enemy said that. Would you think that that person was playing with a full deck? Or let me ask you this question. If your friend was saying that, would you look at him or her and say, friend, you might need to go get some help? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I really want to hear what your thoughts are about this. Do you agree with me that that Candace has been given over to a reprobate mind? Do you agree that her thinking is now broken, and now she's just going to further and further, and as that example was from The Price is Right, she's off the cliff? Or do you think that there's something else going on? Let me know what you think. I really want to hear about it. Comment down below. I'm looking forward to hearing what you're saying. So until then, everybody, grace and peace.
Kirk came out today, and she was channeling Janet Jackson in Rhythm Nation. I was feeling it at first. I was like, we're about to get a routine, a dance routine. And we didn't get that. Instead, we got something horribly scripted. And of course, she lied in my name and on my birthday. Shame on you, Erica. Shame on you. Welcome back. Okay, just a quick LOL. Someone in the chat just asked this, and it reminded me of this exact same conversation I had with my husband. It's one of these words that doesn't make it over the pond. Someone said, "What's nappy?" I'm from the UK. So in the UK, nappy is a pamper, a baby's pamper. So when they say, like, I need a nappy, they're referring to a baby's pamper or diapers, as we say. But in America, for the UK people, a nappy is an expression that's used to describe like a coarse hair. So she's just describing African hair. So when you call somebody nappy-headed, you're calling them African-headed, essentially. So it's not so offensive in the UK. Or maybe it is. Nobody wants to be a diaper head, but that's the translation for you. Also, on the point about me hating blondes and blue eyes, my team is shocked. Ashley, the producer, blonde hair, blue eyes. Savannah, blonde hair. Bella, blonde hair, blue eyes, who scrolls on our prompter. So this is definitely news that I hate people with blonde hair and blue eyes. Anyway, speaking of Erica, obviously, because she name-checked me today, let's just back this up. Everything went down while I was in Italy, right? I came back. Suddenly, there were all these reporters who were in ball gowns at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, sharing clips down at the ground, taking selfie videos, sharing their survivor stories. They're now apparently thug life. I think Brian Stelter is about to get that tattooed across his abdomen. He's survived. He's a survivor. What did they survive? Vietnam, the streets of Compton. Actually, it turns out that it's more like the streets of incompetence, because what actually happened? Well, a man stormed a security check at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and then Secret Service agents, and only Secret Service agents, began firing their weapons. That is the latest. And as soon as I saw the video, I was like, I think like nobody can like fire a gun that quick. I think it's actually friendly fire. Here's the latest headline in the Washington Post. It reads, video shows moment, Secret Service officers fired at Correspondents' Dinner suspect. And then it says surveillance footage reviewed by the Post provides the clearest picture yet of the seconds after the alleged gunman bolted through a checkpoint inside the hotel. In addition to this, Evan Hill, who is an investigative reporter for the Washington Post, wrote on his X that a Secret Service officer fired 4 times at Cole Allen and in the direction of other security personnel as he charged a security checkpoint. A post review of surveillance footage has found that there was no indication on the footage that Allen fired his weapon. So to be clear, after all of that, it's hard to say a shooting happened, right? Nothing happened in that regard, or I guess the implication that this was a shooting that came from this outsider. And the majority of the people that were inside could not even hear or distinguish the sound of what was going on. They connected the dots, of course, on the basis of the Secret Service then rushing the president out, which it would be scary. Obviously, like, what the heck's going on? Which I think a lot of them thought, like, why are they moving him? Actually, I got to give a rare kudos to Andrew Colvett. Now, in a couple of minutes, I will be dissing him. But a rare kudos to Andrew Colvett, who, when he recounted the story, was actually honest. He said he heard a sound. He honestly did not know what it was. It could have been plates crashing. If anybody, by the way, has been in the presence of a shooting, I have, because I lived in DC and I lived in New York, and you hear guns go off. Sadly, unless you see it, you're not sure. It's like a pop. It's a pop sound. And yes, it could be, as he is describing, plates crashing. What is that? Okay. Now, despite this actually being the story, we were immediately inundated with social media posts. And for some reason, the star of the would-be saga was none other than Ms. Erica Kirk. Somehow, at the exact right moment, and amidst all of the chaos and the subsequent lockdown, someone had captured the exact moment that Erica Kirk was walking out and captured the audio of her saying this.
I just want to go find
Okay. So the clip was first shared by Sarah Seidner. She is of CNN. She's a CNN reporter. But I noted pretty early on, I thought that was pretty precise for her to have recorded that. Also, she's on air talent, so it would be unusual for her to just be like trying to get things behind the camera. Anyways, she stopped short, I've looked everywhere, of ever saying that she herself recorded it, which I found to be interesting. That's interesting to me. And so I reached out to her on Instagram ahead of the show. I reached out yesterday and I think the day before on Instagram, on Twitter, and via text, asking her to simply confirm that she in fact shot the video and that it was not given to her by somebody else. I got no response. I would like to confirm that she actually shot that footage. Actually, there are other people that are in the corridor who have cell phones. I'll put a bounty on it. I will offer $10,000 to somebody who has the opposite side footage. And I obviously will not run your name. I will protect you. If you have that opposite side footage of the person who caught that footage, $10K is yours, no questions asked. Okay. More tips at CandaceOwens.com. Anyway, I bring this up because what would have just been Erica's reaction somehow became the focal point of the entire event, right? And we were getting lectured. I don't know how it happens that Erica goes out and we get lectured, but it happened again by golly. And Baron Coleman happened to notice that as well. And here's what Baron Coleman had to say.
And maybe innocently, Erica just happened to make an excited utterance. I just want to go home. And she just happened to say that right as she crossed the only camera that captured her leaving. I could accept that. I could accept that. I could accept it if it hadn't gone viral. I could accept it if we didn't get hit with a relentless onslaught of simps lining up to promote her in this moment and kick off operation number 2 of the night. Operation 1 was Operation Ballroom. Operation 2 was Operation Erica Kirk.
Correct.
The president sort of faded into the background last night. The vice president sort of faded into the background. The only people who really rose to the top, one is a building that hasn't even been built yet, a ballroom. And the other is a woman most of us had never heard of 7 months ago, 8 months ago, Erica Kirk. Operation Erica Kirk. So I might have been able to buy that.
These are the facts, okay? Baron Coleman is telling the truth. That's why people are going to hate him. They hate the internet because we clock this stuff so instantly. It was just weird. The ballroom, Erica Kirk. Oh, and then suddenly, again, I'm being tweeted at. Next thing you know, we are all being lectured by neocons across the internet. We're being called sheer evil, psychopathic, because Erica Kirk opted into another social calendar event, okay? An event that did not in any way require her presence, one which not even Charlie Kirk had ever attended, or President Trump, for that matter. As the president, he never attended any of these correspondence dinners, and yet it's somehow our fault again. We were not invited, and it's always our fault, right? I'm just getting flashbacks to UGA. Erica misses her appointment. We weren't going. We didn't speak about UGA. We didn't say don't go. Suddenly, we got the vice president lecturing us about not keeping Erica safe, right? Neocons, same thing, hitting hard with the repeat lecture about a grieving widow who apparently we're all now somehow responsible of. They just turned her into one of our kids out of nowhere, right? It's all our fault because if you noticed anything about Erica Kirk, this is the reason why she went to this social calendar event, okay? I just want to be very clear at what we are looking at, and forgive me because I know that Hillary Clinton, many of my listeners maybe voted for Hillary Clinton, you liked Hillary Clinton, that is fine. I did not, and I'll explain to you why, because you might be able to connect the dot here. This is why a lot of people who voted for Trump, some of them actually were just voting against Hillary Clinton in 2016. It was because of the nature of the campaign. It was whiny. It was that is what we resented truly about the campaign. You can't criticize Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. Oh my gosh, this person said this because he's a sexist. Oh my gosh, the reason why Hillary Clinton is struggling, or if you think she fainted, whatever, is because she's a woman. She's hyper qualified. Her husband's Bill Clinton. I will say Hillary Clinton is actually accomplished in her own right. But that was the whole attitude. It was like, we're not actually trying to get your vote. We don't need your support. We're too rich and too big to fail. She's too connected to fail. So we're just going to keep chastising you. And we're just going to keep lecturing you. And then we expect you to vote for her. That's the Erica Kirk campaign. It's worse. If I could pick, like if we have to go through another cycle of a grift, whether it's a feminist grift, like the Hillary Clinton one, which felt like it's because she's a woman. the race grift where like people couldn't express their opinions for a while post BLM, George Floyd, or the widow grift where they're doing the same thing. They're shutting down reasonable questions, people that are bringing up things in Hillary's past, whatever it is. The widow grift is the worst. I have to say, of all of them, the widow grift is the one that I actually find to be the most despicable. Because we all know that you're doing it and you just keep doing it. No, it's nobody's fault that Erica went to that event other than Erica. Okay. We did nothing. We didn't hit someone up. We didn't say, hey, could you storm the barrier? Hey, Secret Service, do me a favor. Could you fire shots at each other so that Erica gets into a state of trauma? It's just, we're really getting tired of this. It's so disingenuous and we can see what you're doing. And it's not moving the needle any. I get it. She's too big to fail. You got too much money. You got too many connections. Okay. It's just that she's failing. So anyway, on the heels of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, she tweeted that she would be addressing her latest traumatization. And she did that today. She said, I need to spend time with my family. We should have pulled the tweet. She went literally in one sentence. She said, I after today's traumatizing shooting, I need to spend time with my family, and then I will be on the Charlie Kirk show on Wednesday. So I think she just needed 48 hours. And what we got today was objectively weird. It was weird for a couple of reasons. First is that it was 9 minutes, and then they just played Charlie Kirk clips for the remaining almost 2 hours. The second thing is that it was pre-recorded, okay? It was straight from the teleprompter, and it was very clearly not written by her. But we can kind of go over the points that she delivered. And yes, there's been immediate backlash. And yes, I am already being blamed for the immediate backlash because it's always somebody else's fault when it comes to Erica Kirk, okay? So the first thing that's weird is the reason that she gives for people asking that question, why did you go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner? You literally just said you couldn't do your UGA commitment because there were credible threats and you couldn't trust the Secret Service to absolve them. Then you did an event with Trump, which relied upon the Secret Service. And then now you're doing another event and it's like a press event, right? That actually Charlie hated. He always made fun of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So why do you feel obliged to show up here? And here is the answer that she provided. Take a listen.
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up, and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech. And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you." To which she replied, literally, she said, "I know. Isn't it special, right? Isn't tonight so special?"
Any buyers? Any takers of that? That she went just for the social experiment of it all? And by the way, I know we're not allowed to remember anything she says yesterday, but I'm pretty sure that when she sat down with Caroline Levitt on stage at a Turning Point event, she says that she didn't read the headline. She doesn't care. She's completely removed. We've been told over and over again that she's just not aware of what's going on. Now she's saying, I actually went to this event because I needed to confront these journalists who day in and day out, I actually know their names, which is more than I can say. I actually don't know the names of all the journalists who write articles about me. I don't care to learn about their lives. I actually virtually never give them statements. Like my PR isn't open. You can just go out there and say, she doesn't care, she doesn't care, she doesn't care, because I just got tired of answering for things. But that's what we're getting. Now we're getting that she went there and she got dolled up And it was because she simply just wanted to, and she even went to a pre-party, I believe, right? That was posted as well. But that was just because she wanted, it was a social experiment. Okay. And next she's going to say something that is ironic. Okay. She's going to call out those journalists because she's on a, that's why she went to just like, I don't like you journalists. She's going to call them out for their reactions to the shooting. Okay. Take a listen.
If you were in that room, you had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really anything. It was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips. They were so concerned about getting a video in a room with an active shooter that they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the number one rule of journalism.
Anybody in the chat want to tell her what's ironic about that statement? Anybody remember Terrell Farnsworth? And when we said that was weird, they said it wasn't weird. And now Erica is basically going, who would record themselves in an active shooting? This is Terrell Farnsworth, doesn't know how many shooters there are, doesn't know what's going on. Seconds. This is not even a minute after Charlie hits the ground and he's behind him and he recorded himself. Take a listen.
They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. He's dead. God help him.
I'm just pointing out irony. That's all. I know I'm going to get crushed for that. How dare you remember? I go kind of spending a lot of time on this case, and it's part of the bizarre reactions that the public doesn't feel good about. So I just think it's weird to call out journalists for the exact same actions that your team took. That still works for you. Taking down cameras. All that's a bit weird. But if they started taking down cameras, you might think it was a little weird. Anyway, another part, which there's this random push coming from the White House, and you're going to hear this from Erica and from the First Lady as well, where I'm just starting to feel like they're coming after the First Amendment, right? And bizarrely, they're going after Jimmy Kimmel, which I'm, again, angry at. This is the second time that they're going to make me defend Jimmy Kimmel. They are trying to assert, and again, on the heels of Trump sharing that about me, on the heels of his advisors sharing this information about me, all right, going after my family, that it's actually Jimmy Kimmel's joke that is to blame for the White House Correspondents' incident, okay? And Erica Kirk is going to underscore that as well. Take a listen.
If you can just pause and just take a minute and ask yourself, how would you feel if even just one person made cruel jokes about the attempted murder of your loved one? That is what Jimmy Kimmel did to the First Lady. He said that she had the glow of an expected widow. The glow of an expected
Just
widow.
like so
Just
disingenuous.
48 hours before that nightmare almost became a reality.
It was a joke. I can't do the Hillary Clinton campaign. I can't do it. I can't do, that's how it felt. Trump would make a joke about something and then they'd all get out and pretend it was super serious. And it's ironic because like Jimmy Kimmel was a part of that syndicate of people that did this. And I said no, and I couldn't stand Jimmy Kimmel. And I still really don't like Jimmy Kimmel, but they're flipping it now on its head and they're Jimmy Kimmeling it. Okay, they're doing the thing where they pretend that a joke is existential. A clear and obvious joke is as existential and now the source of shootings. This happened because Jimmy Kimmel made a joke. She may have liked the joke. I don't love everything that's said about me. Oh well. But the big news, of course, is that as she got toward the end of this pre-written monologue, not written by her, was that she name-dropped Drewski and she name-dropped me. And that was supposed to be, I think, as they planned it, and this is why she's got to stop working with Blake Neff. It's giving Blakey Neff wrote it. I know he's her writer for things. This was supposed to be a moment of bravery or something, and it's going to backfire. Take a listen.
Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on.
Man, it's just not, the performance of all of this is not good. And before we get to her claim, in which people immediately checked her on, and it was not trending in a good way, it's not trending for her in a good way, the reaction to this, whatever this was supposed to be, just an obvious lie. She wakes up to headlines and Candace Owens saying that she killed her husband. Now, I'll show you how they're trying to clean it up. It's similar to UGA. It's going to be narcissistic abuse, where they blame it, they try to way to wiggle out of Erica lying, as opposed to saying, oh, she misspoke. They're going to try to assert that, no, Candace did say this. But overall, before we even get to that, the response has just been brutal, okay? Everyone is calling her out. They're saying that the look is wrong. People are making fun of saying that she looks like she came dressed up as the assassin that was walking up the stairs, allegedly. But also just her general demeanor. Okay, here are just some of the reactions. We can go through them. I guess I missed it. When did Candace Owens mention anywhere in the podcast that you murdered your husband? You didn't miss it. I trust gas station sushi more than I trust Erica Kirk. This user writes, I was hoping you were going to address all the questions being asked of you. This lecture was pointless. We're just getting lectured every day. We're so tired of being lectured. This person writes, Candace Owens never once made the explicit claim that you murdered your husband. All she has accused you of is being a liar and a fraud. By the way, when that is my repeat accusation, which I've proven that you lie, it's best not to lie in the monologue that you're going to come after me, right? Like that, come on, lights on, guys. This person says, so she's not resigning. She's ruining Turning Point USA. She should just go home and stay at her mom and stay as a mom to those poor kids that have no parents at this point. Here is another tweet. This person wrote, if Erica truly is just a grieving widow and not actually a bad person, which is now becoming harder and harder to believe, then somebody around her who cares needs to tell her the following. 1, her disposition is totally unlikable. 2, her delivery is completely untrustworthy. And 3, every time she opens her mouth, she digs herself a bigger hole. I would rather not tell a widow how to grieve, but I would advise a wannabe astroturfed CEO to go home and spend some more time with her kids that she claims to love so much. Here's another couple of funny tweets. Did Erica tell her stylist to, quote, give me the assassin outfit today? Another one, Erica Kirk trying to prove to us that she did not try to kill her husband. These are obvious jokes, guys. I know they're now criminalizing jokes, but these are jokes, okay? Erica Kirk out here dressing like Eminem when he got sober. I did not see that one before. That's very funny. This person, why is Erica Kirk wearing something that looks eerily similar to an Imperial officer's uniform from Star Wars? It fits the theme music when they walk out. So yeah, across the board, people are laughing. They're mocking it. They're saying it was, you're lying. And also it's just weird. It was weird and it was awkward. And speaking of the lying, which, like I said, many people called out right away, as that person said, I've never made that statement on this podcast. Of course, they instantly then started realizing that they needed to defend it. And of course, they came out with 2 different excuses. Okay. Blake Neff came out and said, well, Candace didn't say it, but she implied it. She implied it in the episode where I said that the police should drag Erica in for questioning, that Charlie would have already been dragged. He probably would have been arrested until further notice and asked questions if we had found this many holes in his story. Like, of course, they should have her phone. They should be asking her questions about various lies, because that's just how it works. So that was Blake Neff's excuse. Now, Andrew Colvet's excuse is even more bizarre. Andrew Colvet is going to present an out-of-context text message, which looks like it got passed around at Turning Point USA. Look, I got to give Andrew Colvet, like, they're never on board with, they're all like running in different directions, but he is the king of the narcissistic abuse of the public, right? He instantly comes out and starts chastising us, and he can never just be like, you know what? I would have instantly said she fumbled over her words. She meant to say that she feels Candace implied it. But of course, that would have been a hard sell because it's very clearly scripted. And look, you have all over the internet, people are calling her out for lying. Why would she utter that statement? Why would she say that I accused her of murdering her husband? And as it was going viral, too many people obviously watched the show. So they just clocked it immediately. So Andrew did his thing, right? To prove this was real, he presented a screenshot of a text message joke, a joke definitively sent by me. And I will say right now, Andrew Colvet, you have my full permission to release the entire conversation, because how dare you remove this joke from its context, okay? And it's a message that had never been revealed to the public. I stand by it. I'm assuming employees passed this around. It now kind of explains why so many people got fired. I think I'm grasping some understanding of that. And he presented it as an authentic exchange. Despite the cry emojis, I was being asked what questions I planned to ask Erica when we met up at the end of December. So you recall at this time, this was during the week where Erica was going viral for her interview with Barry Weiss for a number of very funny reasons. And they were pushing real hard in the press to assert that asking Erica any questions was despicable, off record, and it equated to accusing her of murdering her own husband. Okay, so I sent this as a joke, an obvious joke, which they know is a joke, because when I met up with Erica, I never asked this question, and I was being funny, and I still think it's funny, actually. I said this in response. I said, and that's on, this is the tweet. The person is asking, what are you going to ask her? At the bottom here, you can see I said, I'm asking everything. First question, why did you murder your husband? Cry emoji. And again, the context of this was us making fun of Barry Weiss and Ben Shapiro and the syndicate of people that had come out and said that asking any questions about Erica Kirk at all was akin to just saying exactly that you murdered your own husband. This was never released to the public. It's a private conversation. So to pretend that that is what Erica was responding to today, how disingenuous can you be, Andrew? You have to get tired of it at some point. You just got to get tired of it. Again, I will assert publicly, you have my full permission. Go Max, release the entire chain. I have nothing to hide. When I said and I asserted several times, there is not a single thing that he can point to that I said on this show that was leaked to me by Aubrey Leitch, like from December 15th, okay? Post getting fired, obviously she spoke out and I've had many conversations with her, but nothing was leaked to me about that I presented on this show about anything that was going on internal. So pretending that this joke that went around of I'm the first thing I'm going to ask her is why did you murder your husband? Like, why are you gay? Is a little over the top. Release it all. Let the public judge. I have nothing to hide. And in this investigation, when I went into that room, I believed that, Erica was being a little weird, but I thought that I was going to get straight answers. And then she lied to my face. And from that point on, when I clocked her on those lies and when the public kept repeatedly clocking her on lies and seeing your reaction to it like it is right now, I grew increasingly suspicious of Erica. I remain suspicious of Erica. I think that is any person who is being honest. Why don't you respond to what I'm actually saying? I am saying that donors are telling us that that was an AI video or an AI audio that you presented of Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't that be a great time to clear that up? If you're going to sit there and you're going to point the finger at Candace Owens, I would have said, and it is egregious that Candace Owens is implying that we would make this up, that Charlie didn't want me to take over. And then you slam dunk, show the video of Charlie Kirk saying in Aspen that he wanted you to be the CEO. I have made a lot of claims about you lying, and I stand by the claims that I have made on this show, okay? I stand by the claims I have made. Like I said, I spoke to multiple donors that were at that event. It is strange that you will not release that video. It is strange that you are now pivoting to a private text message thread to assert that I said you murdered your husband. What does that mean? Did you shoot your husband? No, I'm not accusing you of shooting your husband. What I am assuming that I have been open about on the show is that it reeks of dishonesty. And that people told you this, there's something about your general nature that comes across as very dishonest. You don't seem to be interested in the very many holes. I wouldn't be able to stomach sitting or standing next to Kash Patel, and yet you do. You're sitting here at a White House Correspondents' Dinner. Why don't you ask him to give the defense what they need if you want a speedy trial, victim? Oh, no, I'm just there to, for a social experiment. Well, you're standing next to the FBI director that's holding up your case. I wouldn't be able to stomach looking at Kash Patel, and you can. I'm sorry that we're all noticing these sorts of things and keeping track of the very many lies that you and Turning Point people have told. Biggest of all, which no one wants to address while they're putting on this widow grift, is the lie that you told about the surgeon going rogue, Erica. How about responding to that? The surgeon went rogue. Andrew Colvett went rogue. I wasn't a part of the conversation. You lied about that, Erica. That's a big lie. That's not a small lie. Okay, I'm not coming after you like the internet was in early days for wearing hot pants with JD Vance. I don't care about that. That's not relevant to me, how you style your hair, how you want to do your makeup, how much eyeliner you want to put on. That feels petty to me. But you lying, allegedly, according to donors that were present, about Charlie saying, I want you to take over if I get killed? Yeah, that matters. You lying about the surgeon and beginning the entire story about a Superman neck, but actually you were on the phone, but you lied to my face and you're pretending that I have to take that because you're a widow? No, that doesn't work for us, okay? That does not work for us. In fact, Baron Coleman called this out. The widow grift and trying to tell us that she's allowed to lie to us because her husband died is so on its face absurd that it should be rejected by all people everywhere. Take a listen to what Baron Coleman had to say on his show.
Nowhere in the Bible, nowhere in any religious tradition does it say, if you're a widow, you get a free pass to lie to anyone you want, to gaslight everybody you meet, for everything you've ever done in your entire life that is dog doo-doo. You just get overlooked. No one's allowed to bring it up. No one's allowed to talk about it. For the rest of your life, everyone has to fawn all over you and support you because, my God, you're a widow. It doesn't exist. I've looked at scripture. It's not in there. Erica, Graham, Gary, not in here. Andrew, Blake, doesn't say it. There's no requirement. I support her as the head of TPUSA. There's no prohibition on me criticizing her for documented falsehoods. None. None. And I'm tired of this gaslight play.
We're all tired of being gaslit all the time. We are so tired of them moving the goalposts and problematizing us, clocking the lies as what is problematic. Like it's problematic that you recognize that she is lying. It is problematic that she keeps lying to your face and you keep noticing it. And she just moves to absurd excuse like, oh, well, there was this private text chain where Candace said, Erica, did I actually, when I arrived, did I say, did you kill your husband? Oh, so it was probably a joke, Erica. It was probably a joke, and you should share the full context. Don't retweet, as she's done, Andrew Colvett. Oh, no, that's the excuse for why I just said that publicly. This private chain that nobody saw. Everybody recognizes that as a lie. You guys just keep piling on the lies. And again, you can't get on board with the same messaging. Blake Neff already gave a different excuse. Well, she implied, Erica, no, it was this joke that happened in December. Private joke that happened in December. That's the reason we're saying that with the crying emojis. That's nobody ever makes a private joke, obviously, that what she meant was that I killed my husband. Okay? Stop being ridiculous. Please hire a new PR team. You are not smarter than people in the public. You just aren't, actually. And I that's honestly going to be your only saving grace is to just exercise some humility, man. Just come out, say, I am sorry I canceled my event at the last second to UGA team, right? I was embarrassed to come out because there wasn't a lot of people and I'm under a lot of pressure right now. That works. Humanity works, okay? I did tell a stupid lie about the surgeon. It was a big lie. It was a really dumb lie. I don't know why I said it. You know why I said it? Because I was advised to by a really stupid PR agent. That's probably what happened, right? Just deny that in the face of overwhelming evidence. Respond. Have the courage to respond. Okay? Stop with the Hillary Clinton campaign. If people want to ask Hillary Clinton questions about her past and what she did in Haiti, it's not because she's a woman. If people want to ask Erica Kirk questions about her past, whether or not she made up the AI video or AI audio of Charlie Kirk saying, I appoint my wife to take over me if anything happens, answer the questions meaningfully. And if you're going to the White House Correspondents' Center to face people face to face, by golly, Erica, why don't you do that now? Why don't you have a roundtable with the people that are causing you the most grief? Get Baron Coleman. Do it live so the whole world can see it, right? So it's not behind closed doors. As I've said thousands of times over, this does not need to be in person, okay? Don't make unnecessary hurdles. Answer the questions once and for all. Just answer the questions. These are big accusations, Erica. You lied. When I sat down with you and did this, you lied to my face. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to do that, especially when it's regarding a murder, the murder of your husband. It's a weird thing for a widow to tell lies pertaining to Superman next and to throw it on a Dr. Lee Trotter and to claim that you weren't on the phone when you were and you facilitated that entire conversation. That's weird. That's not okay, Erica. So that's all I'll say about that. Okay, now speaking of lies, I'm very happy to now clear up what I was actually doing in Rome. Like I said, I'm on no clock now to respond to varying absurdities. We left off before I went to Rome, and it was Candace and her husband are living separated. I think this was, according to Laura Loomer, we were living separate and in two different houses, and I had dual citizenship. Of course, none of that is true. Then it was George is in a secret gay relationship with Milo. Proof presented was an AI photo of him wearing a Ricky Martin type silk shirt. Very clearly AI, by the way. Just to say this, George had never even met Milo at all, not once in London, until the day that I interviewed him here in this house. That was the first time. And he said, hi, that's it. Also, I'm hiding money in a trust from Brigitte. That, again, is just showing legal stupidity. You don't have no idea how lawsuits work. But then when I went to Rome, right before I went to Rome, came her exclusive report that I was potentially paid $500,000 by the Southern Poverty Law Center to communicate David Duke talking points. Was the SPLC paying Candace Owens $500K a year to plagiarize David Duke? And I just didn't respond to that because it's just so kooky and so crazy. She doubled down and she said, because she saw me flying with my husband, that David, she rumbled me. I was fleeing the country because of her stunning report on the Southern Poverty Law Center. And due to her reporting, I was fleeing to Rome and taking my money to Rome, right? Candace Owens had to abruptly cancel her show today and travel abroad. She never alerted her audience of her travel plans. Interesting how she's fleeing the country the same day that I reported her Zionist Jewish lawyer dropping her ahead of an important deadline in her lawsuit with the Macrons next week. Remember, I exposed her secret trust where she's hiding nearly $12 million in real estate, among other assets. Her other lawyer's firm specializes in bankruptcies. Is she moving her money abroad and hiding assets so she can file for bankruptcy? She's fleeing the country. At Emmanuel Macron. She alleges she's in communication with him now. Wow, I am, woo. By the way, it's like 2026. You don't got to get on a plane to move money, man. Just send a wire, right? You don't have to get completely crazy. And then once I got to Rome, the story was that I was meeting with Nick Fuentes and David Axelrod and Aubrey Leitch of Turning Point USA to have an anti-Trump summit, which was funded by Qatar. I think I'll just read the tweet in its entirety, because this is the person that you can actually see why they don't want to deal with her in the White House. You can see what they don't want. They don't want to have to keep responding to clinical insanity. She wrote, are the radical left and the woke right currently converging in Italy for a secret anti-Trump summit just days after Barack Hussein Obama's top advisor, David Axelrod, met with the Pope? Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, and the alleged fired Turning Point USA leaker Aubrey Leitch all suddenly appeared in Rome. A reliable source informed me that Aubrey approached several conservatives last year in an effort to recruit them to attend a paid propaganda trip to Qatar. Did she register with FARA? The woke right is nothing more than a massive grift, and I have suspicion it is all being funded by foreign dark money. Okay. And of course, she doubled down on that with another AI photo. Joke, an obvious AI photo joke from Aubrey saying, happy birthday, Candace. Like, I guess the three of us decided to get on a small scooter. So the reality, just to clarify for everyone, is that I went to Rome with my husband and my children, who I am not living separately from. Thank you very much. My husband, who I love dearly. And no, this was not an abrupt trip, but a completely planned, as it is when you have children. You don't just pick up and flee a country. But it was a planned trip to Rome, which I actually sort of announced back in March at the Catholics for Catholics event when I said this. To be a Catholic is to suffer. Our reward is not here. And I can't tell you how encouraged it is with all of the fighting that happens every single day to be in a room filled with people who share that same heart. And I just want to thank you guys so much for welcoming me and allowing me to be in my infancy, hopefully maturing and toward my confirmation, which will be next month. God bless you. Thank you so much. I was so nervous about this trip for 1,000 different reasons, took this very seriously, obviously spaced out the baptism from the confirmation because I understood the differences between those sacraments, and I wanted to take it very seriously and go around the sun a couple of times and really understand what was happening in the church and in my missal and asking every question that I had to ask. And it was an absolutely beautiful trip. I was confirmed by in the old Latin rite by a cardinal. My priest flew in from London, so that was part of the reason why I had no response to Trump, because I told my priest I would chill, and he was there when that happened and that went down, and he's just given me the best advice. And it was just, I can't even explain to you guys how amazing the trip was and what it felt like, how absolutely I was just nerve-wracked the entire time. I don't know why. I was just so nervous and completely overthinking my confirmation. And yeah, it was just a blessing. It literally was a blessing. And so that is a Scooby-Doo mystery. No, I did not see Aubrey. I did not see Nick Fuentes. I did not see David Axelrod. And yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that I have been confirmed. I'm very excited about that. Something that I wanted to share with you guys. And I did really just forget. Obviously, we recorded the Corby Hall episode because we were trying to cover for Thursday, and I just kind of didn't, well, we pre-recorded it, so that was probably why I didn't think to mention. But it's done, and I'm very excited. So thank you guys, especially to the Catholics worldwide that have been praying for me, and to Christians worldwide that have kind of seen the journey and understand what we're up against. I know that it can sometimes feel so ugly, but that's kind of the process of fighting for what's right and fighting for what's true. And I feel even more prepared in many ways for the fights to come. And yeah, I guess just everyone, every single person, even you guys who are not Christian yet, or I know that many of you guys have at least been putting your thoughts toward me and hoping for me and my family and praying for our safety day in, day out. We're not the ones that complain every day and tell you about the threats that we endure and tell you about how insane these people are and how difficult they try to make our lives, because I don't want my show to become a wine fest. You know, I think God picks his soldiers. You know, you are never given more than you can handle. And maybe that really is the lesson from my butt ugly face that Trump shared when I got some uglier pics. So have someone on your team call me, Trump, if you really want to go for the jugular. I could show you it got worse than that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And we'll be right back after a brief break.
I know y'all didn't know what happened to me. Terribly sorry. I just had one of those days where I was a little bit too busy to do any of my regular morning videos. So I apologize for not being on in the morning. But now you get to have time with me. And other than that, I wanted to say, I can't even believe that Candace went on a tangent. A horrible tangent for... It's like 43 minutes long, her segment about Erica. Girl, if you're not jealous of her, then what the hell are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? She spent the first 15 minutes on Trump, and then 43 minutes on Erica Kirk. She's obsessed. I have to laugh. My husband, when he was hearing her, yapping, he's like, "Oh my God, just shut up."
She doesn't shut up.
I know.
I can't stand it.
I know.
Neither can everyone else on the internet.
No, man. She used to get like millions of views, and now she's lucky if she's getting hundreds of thousands.
What? Luis? How do I play it now? Look.
When I was watching it, it was an hour after she already was live, and there was only 100,000 views. By the time I finished watching the episode, it only went up to about like 200,000. And it was like 2 hours after she already went live. So her show's dying out. Nobody cares. She just yapping, yap, yap, yap. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yappity yapping. Nobody wants a yappity yapper.
Okay, I'm not really gay, trust me.
I'm surprised she got. I'm actually really astonished that she got confirmed, because she is not practicing Catholicism with what she's doing. She has a jealous, envious spirit about her against Erica Kirk. She slanders, spreads lies, defames, harsh judgment, detraction, and there's another one, calumny. These are grave sins. Y'all. Was that the wind? Or was that like a... What the hell? Hit the window. Something hit the window. Am I allowed to make my tea now?
No.
What?
No.
Okay. You guys tell me, would a woman spend this much time on another woman if she were not jealous?
What?
She's giving Mean Girl vibes. You know? Regina George. Know what I mean? I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. If you ain't old enough to know what Mean Girls is, then you ain't supposed to be listening to my channel, man. Because that was the ish in my day, okay? You know, I can't even remember Lindsay Lohan's character's name in that movie, but I remember Regina George. The blonde that thought she was a psychic, and Gretchen. Stop making try to make fetch happen, Gretchen. Anyway, Candace Owens is giving. Anyways, Candace is giving me Regina George vibes, and I really can't stand it, which is why I stopped watching her. But I had to watch today's to see what she was going to say about Erica, so that I could actually take it in in its full context, so that I cannot be whatchamacallit, accused of taking her out of context. I played the whole 3-minute segment, man. I played the whole thing so you guys could see what she was cooking. And she wasn't cooking anything good. It was bizarre, okay? She was cooking some bizarre meals. And I can say that because in my game Heartopia, if you burn your food, it becomes bizarre food. It's no longer like whatever you were trying to make. It turns into bizarre food. I know. My lip is fat. Don't worry. I'll tell you why. So today, I had this really spicy curry sauce that I made into like a soup. And then I ate it. And it was so spicy, it made my lip go fat. Did you see that? My lip went fat from the spicy curry sauce. Don't worry, you'll be okay. Thank you, baby. You didn't have to. Can you hear me? You didn't have to. Thank you. Anyway, tomorrow we're not going to be dealing with Candace Owens, okay? Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about something that's very, 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 very important for women in my age group. See, I turned 39 this year. You know what that means. Next year, I'm turning the big 40. Yep. So how does one feel feminine and keep her femininity and look at herself as a beautiful woman? How does one do that when they are reaching the age of 40? How does one feel attractive and confident going into their 40s? How does a woman do that? You know, so I was thinking about these kinds of things, and I found a great video that explains it. So I shall share that video with you tomorrow, because I want tomorrow's to be fully about that. Not about Candace Owens and her hateful rhetoric, her dehumanizing rhetoric. Please pray for the woman. She is a human being, and she deserves to have prayers for her to stop and turn away from this and turn towards the Lord again, Lord willing. We need to pray for her. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with her. She needs prayers. After I'm done my tea, I'm going to be going to get undressed. What are you listening to?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn how to speak Chinese. Lucas. Try to see what I said here, okay? Pause the video.
in the world? What in the world, Logan?
Never let me play Minecraft Dungeon. I think I may have screwed this up.
What do you mean?
I don't know. They're supposed to be super crispy, and they're not crispy.
They smell delicious.
It smells like skin.
It smells delicious. It smells like meat being fried. Smells mighty delicious. I love me a spot of tea. So you guys know that I try to always wear only dresses or skirts. And I've been going on this like really like transformative journey, if I'm being honest. You know how I like some people call it like, I don't even know what they would call it. I don't know what they call it, but women transform themselves once in a while. Once upon a time, it used to be every 3 months for me. Now it's like every 3 years or so for me. A lot of things stay the same, but like my interior self changes, if that makes any sense. One of the things that I was thinking about is the dresses in which I choose. Now, I choose all the girly cuteness, okay? I love girly cuteness in dresses. I love the frill. I love the stretchiness. I love the flowy dresses. And so I really try to like stick to what I know. But I wanted to explore with different styles. And so I wanted you guys to check these out and let me know what you think. And then I'll be right back. What do y'all think of that? What do you guys think of that style? Not bad. I really, well, I think you guys know the two that I really liked because I made them longer so you could look at it longer. And those are basically my two favorites because I really like the first one that I showed you. And it's gorgeous. I'd wear it every day. I know. Don't worry, it won't be fat tomorrow. It's only fat because it got a lot of spice in it. Anyway, y'all. How y'all doing? How's your night going?
I'm going to work. Luke's sleeping up here tonight. Okay?
Christ lit his life, the ultimate sign. Love poured out, eternal divine. He showed us the way, the cross to embrace. To live as his own, unashamed by his grace. In a culture of death, we choose to speak life. With faith unshaken, with courage we rise. The enemy trembles when truth resounds. For what God has anointed, he has crowned. God endowed, God crowned. We will not be shaken, we will stand our ground. Heaven's witness, earth resounds. God endowed, God crowned. I see it in Erica, I saw it in him. A faith unbroken, light that won't dim. Living examples of truth proclaimed. The legacy burns in Jesus' name. This is the moment, hell's gates shake like Christ's own blood for our soul's sake. Death defeated, our path is clear. God's kingdom advances, his reign is near. God endowed, God crowned. We will not be shaken, we will stand our ground. Heaven's witness, earth resounds. God endowed, God crowned. God endowed, God crowned. We will not be shaken, we will stand our ground. Heaven's witness, earth resounds. God endowed, God crowned. Husbands and wives in covenant stand. Children of promise held in his hand. Turning points fire, a torch reborn. In Christ's own power, new saints are born. God endowed, God crowned. Every faithful life is heaven bound. His glory shines, his truth resounds. God endowed, God crowned. God endowed, God crowned. We will not be shaken, we will stand our ground. They told me I was outdated, just a shadow of the past. Said long skirts and shawls don't shine, don't never last. But I don't dress for fashion shows or this world's fleet.